Now on the Mastiff Radio Network. All right, welcome to another episode of Yeah, with Lisa, Aaron, and Phil, minus Lisa, unfortunately, this time. But this is another chapter in our Writers on Records series. And this time we are honored to have John David, a first time novelist with not the first time novelist. You did write a business book, I believe, but the first time fiction novelist with his thriller, The Bystander. So, welcome, John. Enjoy having you
You're
here.
welcome.
Thanks so
Yeah,
much for having me. I appreciate it.
yeah.
I
So,
didn't have any lead time to read it, or I would.
right, we yes, we are newcomers to this new format, the pod match system. So we met through that. But I think I read enough about the book that I got a really good feel for it, and a good feel for you as a writer, and the materials I read. So, John, you describe this novel and your style as sort of a ripped from the headlines style, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
right.
And
So,
it's really the idea for this novel it kind of hit me while I was kind of watching the news, observing a news event that happened. It was actually the kind of the origin story kind of goes like this, and it was about 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, and I was watching the news, and there was a story about an active shooter incident at a mall in Indiana, and a guy went into the mall in Indiana with an assault rifle, and he started shooting. He killed three people. It's a tragic story. But there was a young man in the food court. His name is Eli Dickin, and Eli Dickin is a expert marksman who was carrying his handgun with him, and he took out his gun and he killed the active shooter.
mm,
And I thought that was just really interesting, and I'd had some interesting conversations about gun rights and all those things. And I found the whole thing really interesting. I really couldn't get enough of it. I read everything I could find about this incident, and I kind of thought this could be the backdrop for a novel. There's a story in here that could be really interesting. And so I just started writing it. And so my book is, that's sort of where the line of fiction starts. So my book is starts off with an active shooter incident where the active shooter is killed by an armed bystander. Um, but everything is not as it seems
mm-hmm,
in my book, which
right.
is a work of fiction.
Right. So it was the inspiration for your book, but you didn't follow it through. It's not. It's definitely not um, a
Yeah,
Sounds like he added
yeah,
some
yeah,
plot. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's not a true crime. It's not a true crime book or anything like that.
He just
It's
he
just, it's
borrowed
a,
a real life setting and then added some
yeah,
plot.
Right.
exactly. And that's sort of inspired me and some other stuff that I've been working on as well. So just these kind of things that happen in real life. And
Mhm.
here, what if you
Gotta
fictionalized it a little bit?
take
Yeah.
inspiration where you find it, man.
There you go.
Right.
There you go.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's kind of my first question. What makes these narratives so compelling to build a story around? With me, it's like a lot of times it's a historical event or something, or like speculative. Like, what would it be like to hold a conversation with, I don't know, Abraham Lincoln or just someone from the past. But what is so compelling about these ripped from the headlines subjects that kind of send you off on a creative tangent?
It's an interesting question because for me it just made there were so many issues. So the gun rights issue is a really complex one, and I can argue it both ways probably. I have my own feelings about it, but I thought that's an interesting issue. And then as I thought about what happened with this armed bystander guy, who's a hero, right? He's a hero for this, and there's not we throw around the word hero, people say you're a hero, oh yeah, you took the trash out on time, you're a hero, right? I mean, you're not, this guy's a real hero. He saved people's lives that day.
The Big
But for me,
Lebowski. I won't call him a hero because what's a hero?
Yeah, right.
so the thing is that for me, I look at this and I think, and I was thinking to myself, but is that the way it's supposed to be? I mean, are we supposed to be, policing ourselves? It's sort of like a little bit of a Wild West type of thing. It's like, are we supposed to be, is that the way it's supposed to be in the world that we go and, we're not, we are, if something happens that we take out our own weapon and start defending the world? Um,
Everybody has their own Glock. I'm
yeah.
going to quote another movie, the Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. Do interns get Glocks? No, they all have to share one.
So the thing is that so for me, and then there's lots of things when it comes to gun rights and gun issues and how and I just thought it was interesting, and that's where it really kind of got me started, and then I kind of went from there.
Okay, so this is the first book in the LeMaster series, and that's the name of the protagonist, right? Uh,
Correct.
Pete
Correct.
LeMaster.
Correct.
Yeah. And
Correct.
so we're going to be looking at more books to come. And I guess the next one down the line is going to be The Pawn, I guess.
Yes, sir. You've done your
Yeah.
research. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the second, so I signed with a publishing company. It's actually based in Southern California. It's called Thule, and they wanted me to write a series, and so I started that. And I wrote the second book. I completed the second book earlier this year, and I'm working on the third one. And the second book comes out in May of 2026, and then somewhere thereafter will come the third.
Yeah.
And who knows how many more after that? We'll see.
Well, we usually go ahead, Aaron. Looks like you're going to say
Oh,
something.
I was going to ask, what was the nonfiction book about that you wrote?
Sure. I about back in 2016. So I'm a public relations and marketing guy by trade, and I wrote a
Okay.
book, a business book, that came out in 2016 about online reputation issues. It's called How to Protect or Destroy Your Reputation Online,
Uh,
and that was a pure kind of business book play, nonfiction work of nonfiction that I wrote
Yeah.
um,
Cool.
going on 10 years ago.
I know some people that might want to read that.
Sure, it's still there's parts of it. A
Yeah.
lot of it's still relevant. A lot of it's still relevant
Lots,
for
a lot of
sure.
unhinged Facebook posts and drunk texting and stuff like that nature and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean
Uh,
that was really where that book came from. Was I was doing a lot of work with people who were had online problems, and I just started, a lot of I would get calls from people, and they would say, "This is happening. What do I do?"
Uh,
Everything from just
on the
from
verge of
silly.
cancellation.
Yeah, right.
People.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there, people who are just whatever. There was one guy, his he shared the name, in other words, he shared the name with another guy who,
Mhm.
and the other guy was had famously, um, basically, hit on his own daughter on Facebook. And so this
Oh,
guy, so John Smith, right, is dealing with another. His name was not John Smith, but he had a, like you, Aaron. He had a name is like Aaron Leckinger, right? There was another Aaron Leckinger out there who did something bad,
mhm.
and so every time anybody Googled Aaron Leckinger, they found this
That's
story
what
about
comes up. Yeah.
the other guy. And so, okay, what do you do? So I'd get stories like that, and then and all kinds of crazy things that would happen to people. And so I put together a book on here's what you do in these types of situations, and then here's what you do in those types of situations, and things like that. And
right.
that was what the book. And um, it was very timely, really timely. It's still, I think, it's still
Yeah.
relevant today. Because people are still getting themselves in trouble doing crazy stuff
Right.
online that doesn't make sense, and they get themselves in trouble. And how do you get out of it?
Well, I mean, there's stuff that's buried on old Twitter feeds and Facebook and stuff. 15 years old, and you may have been 15 years old when you really posted something very stupid that you no longer subscribe to.
Without a doubt, without a
Yeah,
doubt. I mean, there's certainly there's that happens all the time, and you see it. It's stuff gets uncovered. It's happens, it happens all the time. It
Yeah.
happened
I know
to
of
it's
more than
happened a
one
lot.
major league ball player I could name. Yeah.
Yeah.
in government, it happens a lot in government. It's happened a lot. Some people in
Absolutely.
different, presidential administrations. I'm not going to name
Seems like
names,
there's
but
fewer consequences now in government. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
maybe,
Yeah.
maybe. And then, yeah, the same thing with, yeah, but there's things that people say and that, but kind of before they're famous, and then they become famous, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden there's all this crazy stuff going on that
Right.
they don't, they're
Josh Hader's the one pitcher I remember.
It's
He
one of
one
the
that
names I
started this.
wasn't gonna name. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, I'll take the legal responsibility for saying his name, I guess. Um, but yeah, that's interesting work. That's yeah, I was curious about that. Good question there, Aaron. But getting back to the novel for a minute here, it seems that
sure,
you've combined a number of your own interests in the book. We were talking about before we started. You were talking about your love of college football, Florida State. I think it read that you were a huge fan of Steve Spurrier. I've heard people call him Steve Superior. his,
sure.
his non-fans call him Steve Superior,
Sure,
but
we call him Steve Superior too. Yeah,
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 I
yeah.
think
So just
that one could work both ways. Yeah.
let me just
yeah,
make sure that we get the
Disingenuous or sincere.
yeah.
right.
As we get the if we get the record straight. So yeah, I went to the University of Florida, which is
Oh,
not Florida
Florida. Okay,
State.
okay.
So
Oh,
so that would be that's
Yeah, that's
there's we got to make that distinction. That's
that's a
important.
big deal. I had a boss that was a Gator. Not
we've
not a
already
player,
lost.
but a
We've already lost
Florida
Florida.
alum.
The
So
but so anyway, yeah. So I one of the things was I was looking for a as I was writing the book, I'm looking for what am I was looking for a backdrop, for this book, and so, they say, yeah, write what you know, and so I kind of used part of the annual Florida Georgia football game as kind of the backdrop of my book. It sort of sets that's where sort of the inciting incident is set, kind of thing, and so again, sort of like you say, write what you know. So I kind of lean in on some of those issues.
So do you obviously you feel like you need to inject, some of your own personality and interests into the writing, probably to make it interesting to yourself, right? I mean, you're not going to be fascinated writing about feudal Japan if you don't have strong feelings about it,
I
if
mean,
you
he
don't
might
have a
be.
Sure,
feeling of
sure.
familiarity. Well, yeah, but it might be like your son there. He might, but
Sure. I think the big thing is that when you're particularly, you're right. When I was writing my first novel, and you never know if anyone's ever going to read it, right? And so and then when I've written the second one, I'm working on the third one, written some other things since then, and it's kind of this long, tedious process, and so you have an opportunity to put some inside jokes in there and to put some inside stuff in there and to write, stories that versions of things. There's some like versions of stories of things that happened to me or in my work, in my novels, just because, they were funny, they were amusing and that kind of thing. And you're looking for that anecdote, you're looking for that, way of describing a person. So
right,
it's one of those it's the, it's the author's prerogative or whatever. He gets to kind of
Yeah.
do some fun stuff like that.
right. Well,
Yeah,
I
I
know
know
I
if I wrote a book, I'd have little inside jokes that maybe one or two people in the world would get. I'd
things are.
probably put one in there just for Phil.
There you go. There you go.
I'm sure I get it.
I have one of those for a close friend of mine who passed sadly, and so I
Oh,
wrote
sorry
a
to hear that.
slightly an homage of sorts to him. It's very which only a handful of people would understand.
Well,
So
that's nice. But
yeah,
when I go through a bookstore, or when I used to, I usually shop on or I shouldn't say that. I usually look online for books now,
sure.
but when I peruse bookstores, I'd look for local books because I think there's a deep seated need to find something that's going to resonate with you. Like even if it was ghost stories or something that wasn't necessarily up my alley, if it was took place in Cincinnati, I was compelled to pick it up and look at it and see if there, is there an authenticity to that? Uh, in your
Is
book,
it
do you feel
nonfiction only or fiction and nonfiction, Phil?
well? Yeah, but I've done some fiction, although fiction is not my go-to. But if it is set in Cincinnati, I'll I'll take a look at least at the writing on the back of it of the book and see, you know. But do you feel like that this book will resonate with Floridians, whether it's with voice and with accents or just references and stuff?
I think a little bit, yeah. I mean, it's set in Florida. It's not, you don't have to understand Florida. I mean, not that anybody does. You don't have to understand Florida to do it or be in that market, that world, and in the city it's set in to understand it. But there's bits and pieces of the way things happen in Florida, kind of right now. There's there's a little bit of some political issues that come up and things like that. And so I mean, ultimately it's a work of fiction. But again, sort of back to this, like, write what you know about, write what you understand. It was much easier for me to write about things that would people in Florida would get, you know? So yeah, absolutely. Try to make it, but at the same time, there's a little bit of politics, there's a little bit of sports, there's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, different touches on different, my character spends some time in New York, not a lot, but so it's just a little bit of different things here and there to keep people's interest.
All right. Um, so, are you a Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers fan? I'm just thinking of the
Sure,
band from Florida.
of course. Yeah, no, they're from
We are.
Gainesville.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
from Gainesville, where I went to college.
Yeah.
So he's a
Right.
big, of course, huge.
That was a Hollywood success story. um, but yeah. So um, I like TV shows and movies that take place for whatever reason in Miami. I don't know what it is. It's probably the sun and the palm trees and just the idyllic lifestyle that is probably not entirely true all the time.
Yeah,
But
Rocket
Miami's
tubs.
Miami's an interesting city, man. There's a lot going on here. It's always been its roots are in, tourism, obviously. And you've had for a long time, decades and decades and decades, prior to even, before I got here, it was a place that was sort of had a, you can escape into Miami, right? Miami's always been a very welcoming place. And, most of the time, most people who live in Miami aren't from Miami. They're from somewhere else. And
yeah,
now we've had this huge influx of people from outside, from, other countries, from Latin America, South America, Central America. And, again, it's still, which makes it still the same. Like, most people aren't from here, but there's a huge, there's entertainment business here. We've got, all the major sports teams here now, and lots of big time restaurant scene, big art scene, all that stuff. And so, Miami's got there, and it's the largest city in arguably the wackiest state. So there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of great stories that come out of Miami,
yeah. Well, we had
for sure.
we had a guest on. She wrote about Miami's greatest hurricane. I think that was the title of her book, Miami's Greatest Hurricane, I think it
Like
was 1930.
There,
1905, I think.
there was a famous, I think it was a 1928 hurricane. There was one that was, yeah, it was early in the last century that kind of like wiped South the Florida and the Keys, kind of Miami and the Keys kind
Yeah.
of off the map.
Yeah,
She had an ancestor that lived through it, I think.
Yeah, there's
If I
all kinds.
remember right.
There's lots of crazy, hurricanes are nuts, man. I wish
Yeah.
that upon no one.
yeah. I don't think I would hang around for one,
Yeah,
but
no, there. I went through one in 1992 called Hurricane Andrew, which was a
Yeah,
Category
I
5
remember that one.
storm,
yeah,
and
I
it was
remember that.
unlike anything I'd ever seen, and anything like I've seen since.
They're
It
scary.
is
Yeah. At
powerful thing.
least at least you kind of know they're coming as opposed to earthquakes. That was
Yeah, I
actually
mean,
part of the problem in 1905 is they didn't know it was coming.
Right,
yeah,
right.
no, I mean for sure. I mean, and part of the good thing about the good thing is that the forecasting's gotten a lot better, and so we've had used we have fewer kind of false alarms,
Yeah.
but we kind of still I still
Out
kind
here,
of sleep.
earthquakes just happen. You
Yeah,
don't
earthquake
usually
just gonna
have
happen.
much warning at all.
You're either gonna be
Any warning
prepared or
at
you're
all.
not, right?
Yeah.
You're either gonna be okay or you're not gonna be okay, I guess. Yeah, no, the thing with the forecasting's gotten a lot better and more accurate. So, you know that you don't have as many kind of false alarms. There's many occasions where you'd be knuckling down and putting up the shutters and
Yeah.
buying all the water and the batteries, and then nothing happens. And
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
happy nothing happens, but it's still kind of a pain in the butt that you went through all of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Hopefully all the cuts they made to the NOAA budget and all the people they let go doesn't affect the forecasting too much.
Right. Right. So the
I'll pass on not commenting on that.
um, so we talked about this with her too. So once this devastation passed through, then they started to rebuild the city, and then came this, in the 40s and 50s, became this beautiful resort town, and there was a series called Magic City that I loved. It was like only two seasons, and really
Yeah,
the acting in it was kind of terrible, and it was kind of cheesy, and it was a gangster show, and there were a lot of
right,
tropes and things of that nature. But I
right.
still just loved the way it looked. I loved the way it almost looked dreamy, like it was a dreamscape. And that's the way I
You
think of
gonna
Miami.
you
Kind of.
gonna retire to Miami, Phil?
Well, I might, like Hyman Roth, I might go down there and
That's
retire to
right.
Miami.
Yeah.
That's right.
But then
She's
along
the
came Dexter, and I love Dex. I love Dexter, even though that is really a sick show. It's a sick ass show, but
Is he
I mean,
Miami
there's
based?
yeah, he was, yeah,
there's I mean Miami, it really reminds me of the way that people perceive New York, maybe when I was a kid. Big city, a lot of stuff going on, lots of activity. um would fun to visit, wouldn't want to live there, that kind of thing. And
yeah,
but there's still, listen, the one thing that sets this place apart from everything else is that, right now, I mean, in December, you can't beat it. It's like you can't beat it. It's just it's I'm wearing shorts. It's the way it is.
yeah.
Um,
We're not.
and that's, yeah, I know, right? And so that's the one thing, is that's just, it's the weather's
Yeah,
tremendous. And
I get it all here. It
yeah,
was we topped 60 today. I think we hit like 62 or 64 or something like that, but we've had two snowfalls already up here.
Yeah,
right,
One in
yeah,
October, one in November.
yeah,
we'd kill for
And
62 right now. It's been
yeah.
yeah,
twenties.
it didn't get
Yeah.
out of the 40s
But
last weekend, I think.
South Florida, the thing is that there's just that it's a very welcoming place, because, like I said, everybody's kind of from somewhere else.
Mm.
And that, and then you also have this phenomenon of where, most of the time people are behind closed doors because it's hot and you need air conditioning and all that stuff. So, a lot of times you don't know your neighbors. And so it's
Probably
really
not much
easy.
high elevation to deal with out there.
No, zero. No, yeah, no,
Yeah,
flat. It's zero. I'm at like 13 feet or something like that,
Yeah.
where I live, and then you just have a lot of people who are not, communicating very much, because they're not, there's no, you're not, you're not going out sitting on the front porch, that much, and so that insulates you, and so then you don't know your neighbors, and so that can be a good thing. It can be a bad thing. You could be having
right.
the guy across the street, and when I was a kid, lived across the street from a guy who was a drug dealer, it was, looking back on it,
Well,
pretty scary,
that's
thinking
that's
about
the
what
other
could have happened,
that's the other
and
side of the
obviously
coin. Yeah,
Miami had that reputation,
right.
in the 1980s, of
Yeah.
being
A rough
being
town.
a drug town. Yeah.
That's the other side of the thing. So it's been in my mind, my virgin mind. I've never been there. I've been, in other parts of Florida. I've never been to Miami, but it's been shaped by entertainment. And now with this book, you're kind of adding to the lore of the city, with your own kind of interpretation. And so we have, we have these entertainment models, movies, series, soap operas. Things have kind of progressed, from movies to today. It seems to me that like limited series are becoming the go-to at this point. Like people, are scaling down as we go along. Um, so what does this say about uh, the future of like interpreting novels and things like that into media forms that people can digest. Maybe don't read a lot, but like let's say your book, for instance, were to be reimagined.
Right. I mean,
Would
I
you see
think
them?
I think now more than ever you have more, opportunity, than you used to have in the past because it was, I mean, I grew up when we had, three TV, we had three TV stations, right? And pre-cable and pre-streaming, and when you wanted to see a piece of entertainment, you went to the movies, and now, there's an seemingly unlimited number of options, on streaming services and on regular TV and more channels than you can really understand. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. I mean, also it's easier to publish a book now than it was, back, because there's all these, self-publishing options and different ways of getting your work out there. But I think there's a lot more opportunity for things like, for your work to be adapted into something else. So that's exciting, whether or not it'll happen, who knows? It's still a big long shot. I mean, I have a friend of my family who's, um, a friend of mine. Her daughter works for a big entertainment agency in California, and she read my book and she shared it with a couple people, and they ultimately said that they weren't interested in doing anything with it, but they looked at it, which is cool. You know, they
Yeah,
asked me some they asked me some questions about it, which was fun. There were fun questions to answer, but on the whole, they didn't do anything with it. But you know,
yeah. Well, I used to write a little bit back in high school, and when I did, I realized that I had a really vivid idea of what I was writing, and I was really just writing. I was writing more for a screenplay than I was for a novel, because I was really, Do you visualize your stories that way? Do you know exactly what Pete LeMaster, looks like, or however he
well,
acts,
I've gone. I
mannerisms
mean,
and stuff?
I've gone. What
He
I
has he has glasses and a t-shirt that says college, like John Belushi.
the for me, I try to make, I've gotten compliments on my writing, and folks have said it's like cinematic, it reads like a movie, that kind of thing, which are things that other people have said. I don't want to say it myself. It's almost embarrassing to say it myself. But I guess that's sort of how I think. That's sort of how I visualize the story going. And I'm big on trying to make the story move, that you don't want to, I don't write literary fiction. I don't write long expositions of things of what's, every once in a while my characters will step up on a soapbox and talk about something. But for the most part, I'm kind of like story, 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 make the story move, keep people turning the page, try to come up with some twists and turns here and there. And and I wouldn't I kind of, because I've read so many novels in my lifetime, and I continue to read novels. That's why I chose the form, because I felt that I understood it. Um, and like I don't know how to write a screenplay. I mean, I guess I could probably, like, I've talked to people about it who know how to do it, and they say, well, you could learn how to do it. And okay, well, I guess I could learn how to do it, but that's like, my brain seems to be work pretty well in that kind of novel structure, and so that's the direction I've gone, and
Right.
that's why that's the way I've taken it. I heard an interesting interview. There's a guy, an author named, I don't know if you've heard of this guy. His name is Anthony Horowitz, and he wrote the Marble Hall Murders, the Magpie Murders. They're a
Yeah, yeah.
series that's
I've
on
heard those.
PBS, and he's written a bunch of books. He's actually was has been hired by, like, the he's been hired by, like, the Conan Doyle estate. He's written a couple Sherlock Holmes books. He was hired by the I'm gonna block on his name, the Ian Fleming estate. He's written a couple James Bond books, and he writes novels and he writes screenplays, and he turns his novels into screenplays. I mean, the guy's an immense talent,
Yeah.
right? As just like, and he
Like
was,
what was his name? William Golding. Wasn't he? Is he the guy that did the screenplay for The Princess Bride?
oh, I'm not
And
sure.
he's like a famous script doctor.
Oh yeah. Well, no, there's absolutely people who do that, but like to kind of switch between them, I think is amazing. I can't imagine.
Mhm.
I can't imagine doing it. I can't.
Yeah.
It seems beyond the scope of me. But yeah,
Requires a dexterity and craft, I guess, that not many possess. But
yeah.
so would you say you're a fan? Like I'm getting a feel maybe like John Grisham or
Yeah,
uh
I was leading into my question is who are your favorite authors?
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, I
Mine are
was.
Kurt Vonnegut and Philip K. Dick. Do with that
um,
what you will.
so I've been, I'm greatly influenced by John Grisham. I remember, when I was in my early 20s, I had a friend of mine said, that told me about this book called The Firm. And I remember going to, she said, you need to go get a copy of this book called The Firm.
Yeah,
And I went
that
to the
book was
books.
huge when it came out.
I went to the bookstore and I was like, well, I went to the bookstore and I remember very vividly going to the guy behind the counter, go, I'm looking for this book called The Firm. Have you heard of it? And he like points me and he points to this table and there's like a stack of like 150 of them, on this on this display. And my friend who had told me about it, she was at a conference and she said, yeah, no one's in the sessions at the conference. Everyone's in their hotel room reading The
Reading
Firm.
the Firm.
And it was huge. And so that was a big influence on me on just the thriller genre. And I've read a lot of obviously I've read a lot of Grisham since then. And right now the mystery world, the guy I was talking about, Anthony Horowitz, I think he's a really big talent. I like his stuff a lot. And several others, lots of other other writers. Carl Hyacin, who's kind of like the Miami guy, his a bunch of his stuff has been turned into movies and TV series, so he's an influence of mine. Um, and several others, mainly in the mystery world is where I'm focusing these days.
You like who are their names? Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child, the
Oh,
Pendergast
you mean
stuff.
Lee Child?
Leech, yeah,
Lee
I
Child,
think.
who, yeah, he's got the Jack Reacher series, which has
Oh
become a
no, it's
big
a different
deal.
guy.
Oh, okay.
These are
Yeah.
Special Agent Pendergast. Yeah,
Oh,
Uh,
I'm not that I'm not
the
sure how
relic.
deep I am into the genres. Like I kind
Mhm.
of, I don't really read a lot of the spy
They were one that
stuff.
got me hooked back in the 90s.
Ah, okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. And my big thing is I'm really interested in writing mysteries that are not necessarily like murder mysteries,
Hmm.
that are not just like, okay, somebody's dead, how'd they die, who killed them? Like
Yeah,
what kind of trying dreaming up kind of a funkier mystery is
Yeah.
what kind of makes me kind of gets me going, makes
Right.
cool.
my creative thoughts start to flow.
More of a brain teaser, I guess, is what you're trying to say, or a
Yeah,
thriller,
the who done it kind of thing for
right?
sure.
Yeah.
A
There was a
whodunit,
great
but
there was
not
a
necessarily a murder. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Right.
so it was a great. So a book that really influenced me is uh, is this book called Something in the Water. And it was written by this lady named Catherine Stedman, and she's an author. She's also an actress, and she was I don't know what character she played, but she was on Downton Abbey. I don't know if you're Downton Abbey guys, but um, the um, I don't want to paint anybody into a corner, so I'm not going to say you should be or
I
shouldn't be a Downton Abbey
I
guy.
don't know.
But
I
don't
don't
even
know.
know, never heard of it.
Watched.
But
I've
anyway,
never watched it.
I
I've
mean,
heard of
I'm
it.
familiar with what it is. I just
Yeah.
anyway,
didn't seem like it's my bag, so I didn't really watch it.
so yeah, it's one of those. So anyway, whatever. Your mom, your girlfriend, your wife, your
Yeah,
sister, maybe
yes.
they might
I
know.
know people that watch
They
it,
would
sure.
know. But anyway, but regardless, she wrote a book called Something in the Water, and the premise is that there's a couple that goes on their honeymoon. They're they're from the UK. They go to like Bali or someplace to go on their honeymoon, and they rent a boat and they go out on the boat and they kind of go pretty far from the resort where they're staying. But they got a GPS and everything, and they go, we're gonna go find a reef and go snorkeling and swimming and just enjoy the day kind of thing. And then they hit something in the water. They hit something, and it's this duffel bag, and they pull the duffel bag onto the boat, and they open up the duffel bag, and inside the duffel bag is like a couple $1 million, you know, and a cell
It's
phone that's in a
either going to
bag.
be that or eight heads.
That's right. There's a cell phone and there's some other stuff in the bag. And the mystery is, okay, kind of what is this? Where'd it come from? But also like, what would you do? If you found this, and like, how do you get my first thing is, how do I get the money out of the country? Right. Like, that
Right.
was my first thought, and then the other question is, do you turn the phone on? Right. The phone's in a, like a in a airtight container box and it still works. Do you turn it on? Maybe, maybe not. Anyway, so like, I really like that book and how it kind of unwound itself from that moment. And that was really a big inspiration for me of
Got to
of
launder
how
your
to,
money. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. And it taught me how to launder all my money. So, but to me, like, so you have a story that's not necessarily someone's killed and who killed them, but more, which is, listen,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Well,
mock
where'd
the.
this money come from and can I keep it? Yeah.
That's right. But
Right.
listen, the murder mystery format's huge. It's massive. It's every episode of Law and Order practically. It's great. It's just, to me, I think there's a lot of fun to be had in coming up with a premise
Yeah.
that's a little
I
different.
prefer no one dies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and why kill people?
Well, I'm thinking Chinatown. That story was that a book? I mean,
Yeah.
was that a novel
Sure.
at any point? But that
Oh,
that novel,
I don't know if it was a novel.
yeah, no, great,
but
great,
the
great
story
movie, and great. You're right. Yeah,
it
that's right.
revolves around a premise. I mean, I think people died, and of course, but it wasn't a typical murder mystery where you're trying, who done it or
Yeah.
whatever.
Like, and one guy got killed in the aquifer and the
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's about it's funny how like prescient that book is, because like how
yeah.
far out, how
It
how
was easy to see coming.
those rights have become such a big deal, even 40 years later.
Right.
So,
Um, do you feel like okay? So I think what we're dealing with here is I don't. I read a lot of nonfiction and stuff like that. I don't read a lot of fiction, so a lot of my impressions of things like uh, and then there were none like Agatha Christie is based on a
mm,
book is based on the movie, not not on the book. A lot of things that
yeah,
I know about the genre
About
comes
mysteries.
from
Yeah.
yeah, it comes from
yeah,
my movie viewing. So,
sure. Well, if
but
you really want to, I'll give you guys a little bit of homework. Research, look up that book on the internet and look at what its original title was.
and then there were
Um,
none.
yeah, don't do it now though. Do it later.
Okay.
I'm not sure
Okay.
if I can stop Phil from doing it now.
No, no,
Um,
I'm just typing something. There we go.
I read that
He's
I
making
read
us
it pretty
grocery list.
recently.
Don't mind
Yeah.
him.
I read that book pretty recently. I've read a bunch of Agatha Christie in the past few years, and I read that book pretty recently. And it's a pretty it's a it's a great story, and it's really like the original kind of like locked room. It's not the first locked room, but it's like that locked room mystery that was made kind of popularized recently by Knives Out. If you saw that movie,
Yeah.
um, and there's this,
You got a
but it's
third or fourth one coming out.
yeah, yeah, and so there's everything comes around, right? Back to there's are there any like really new innovative ideas out there? Um,
Yeah.
when it comes to
Along that same
movies
lines,
and
it
stories.
sounds like they want to keep just making Knives Out movies as long as people go on to keep going to. As
Of course, yeah, of
long as
course, of
Daniel Craig
course.
will keep doing it, and I
That's
think
right.
is it Ryan Johnson or am I confusing him?
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, he is the guy who made
Yeah,
the Star
he
Wars
wants to
movie.
he says he'll do it as long as as long as they
Yeah.
let him keep doing it. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's another series out there if you're interested that's really good is it's on Apple TV called Slow Horses. I've seen that one.
I've heard good things
Uh,
about it. I haven't
really
watched that one.
good, really good series. The right the it's a heartwarming story for the author, because the guy who wrote the series name is Mick Herron, British guy, and his books languished for like years and years and years, and somebody discovered him and turned it into this Apple series, which is now on like season 5. And
I hope the guys
Gary
alive
Old
to
Gary
enjoy the
Oldman. Gary
Yeah, I
Oldman
saw
is
Gary
the
Oldman's in it, and I saw
Gary
some.
Oldman is the pro is the main like the big character, and
Mhm.
he just crushes, like just crushes it. It's incredible. It's
He's a good
great.
Yeah,
actor. Yeah,
Yeah, he's
definitely.
super talented and a great character. They've created a great character for him, and the books are great. And this guy Mick, Mick Herron, he's now, he's written like, I don't know, he's like 9 or 10 of these books, I think, and he says he's going to do more. And they say they'll make them like Aaron was just saying. The Gary Oldman said, listen, all as long as this guy keeps writing books, because basically each season is mirrors mirrors the book, one of the books.
uh,
And he's like, this guy keeps writing books, we'll keep doing it. So
I
it's
might have
cool.
to check that out. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a
yeah,
winner.
yeah. I'm
Little
deep
Horses
into
is a winner.
Pluribus now.
yeah. Me
I haven't
too.
seen it. I've seen it. I haven't jumped in. Is it worth it?
Yeah, I think as it goes, it's a slow cook, but it's worth it.
My boss, remember
It's
my
good.
I told you my boss was kind of not always in my corner. He gave it a
Yeah,
scathing. He loves Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, but he gave it Pluribus a scathing review. He's like
yeah.
he just crushed it. He ate it. I'm like, "Yeah, I think it's pretty good actually.
She's doing some brilliant stuff.
Yeah,
Just acting, just wordless reactions to things.
right. Well, I think
Just watch her, man.
he has a
That's all I'm
problem that
saying.
he doesn't like that she's so fighting it so much that she's so hateful that she's
Oh,
so unhappy or whatever. And I'm like, okay,
she should
whatever.
join
But
the
that's
alien donut licking cult.
I
Is
guess
that his
that's what.
opinion?
it's always funny when someone like is impacted by a character in one way or another so much that it either like turns them off
Yeah,
or
totally
it
repelled.
turns them on so much, and you say, it's an actor, they're making choices, and part of the choices is maybe they want to make you squirm a little. Like that's what they're
Yeah,
trying to do. That's like part of the whole plan. And but obviously they don't want you to squirm so much you turn it off. They
Right,
right.
want you to keep walking,
Yeah,
keep watching.
I've gotten to the point to where if I'm watching something where there's nobody that I'm rooting for, and if like, they're all pieces of shit, with the rare exceptions, your usual suspects and a few things like that, I'm usually out. I'm out on Stranger Things at this point. I remember the one I was out was when 11 bashed somebody's head in with a roller skate. I was
Ah,
like, all right, I
gotcha.
can't root for her anymore. I'm
Yeah.
done with these.
That's always funny. There's always those like, jump the shark type moments, which is kind of like become its own thing where
Mhm.
you're watching something and like all of a sudden it's just like, yeah, I can't quite stick with it.
Yeah.
yeah.
I
I
tapped
got a
out
question for
on
you
the
guys.
last
I got
season of Ozark too. I was like, these
I
people are
never,
all
I never,
despicable. I don't like any of them.
I didn't, yeah, I never, that one never, I never caught on to that one. But I got a question for you guys.
Mhm.
Um, what about like going to the movies like a regular movie theater? Is that still a thing for you guys?
I haven't been since the pandemic, and
No
I
kidding.
work in movies.
It is for Lisa and I. We go. She has a membership, and each month we gain a ticket or whatever, and you can accumulate. So we go. Usually when we go for free, but we still like the experience of it. My problem is I can't find a lot of movies that because I don't like big budget. I don't like superhero movies. I don't like big CGI movies and stuff. So it's hard for me to find movies that I like in a time slot because even if they
Yeah.
have like
A,
a
a grown-up, not blockbuster movie for you.
right, but even when they have that, it's usually one time.
They used to make 30 of those a year.
Yeah, but they'll have
Yeah,
one
no,
time slot.
it's funny. I've my wife and I used to go to the movies all the time, and now
Mhm.
it's just for like one of those big,
Yeah.
so-called tent pole movies. Like we'll go to see like the James Bond movie. We'll go see the Mission Impossible. Like I went to go. I said, listen, I'm booking a time to go see the next Mission Impossible thing, and we're going to a theater that has the reserved seats, and we're going at 4:30 on a Saturday or whatever Sunday.
Yeah.
But for the most part, but that's it. But like, and I actually the act of getting up and going to the movies and buying the popcorn and getting the soda and sitting there and sitting through the slogging through the previews and all that. I think it's like a fun thing to do, but
Mhm.
so frequently like there's just not enough movies out there that you want to go see, that you want to go invest that time and that energy and you know get cleaned up and, and in my case, put on long pants and, all that kind of thing.
Mm.
Yeah,
So
right.
The last movie I saw in a theater was a trade screening of uh, Call of the Wild, the Jack London book.
Harrison
Harrison
Ford
Ford was in
version,
it. Yeah.
jeez, that's like a
It was
trivia
10
question,
a.m. on
man.
a Thursday, right by the train station in Burbank.
All right. Well,
Wow.
okay. So every once in a while, we like to remind our audience that we're talking to John David, writer of The Bystander, a new thriller that you would do well to go out and get for yourself and read. Um, this at this juncture, sometimes we do our Elite Eight mini bracket, and with only three of us here, we know we're not going to have any ties. So this ought to be a pretty quick exercise. John, are you up to doing it? Or
Sure, sure.
okay,
A little
What's
bit
the
terrified,
topic?
but hey, why
Yeah,
not?
yeah.
it's
Even
like
if
So
we
it's like
lose.
a Ginger or Marianne. You just pick which preference.
right. So I kind of mixed it up a little bit. I picked uh, thriller novels with movies that are based on them.
Okay.
So that's going to make your mind heat up a little bit because it's going to
Okay.
be you're going to be like, oh, I like John Grisham, but the film interpretation sucks. So I like it. So this might make you think a little bit. But here we go.
All right.
First matchup is John Grisham, the firm, versus John Le Carre, the spy who came in from the cold.
They're gonna fight each other.
We'll start with John.
The firm.
Firm. I thought so, based on our earlier discussion. Uh,
I'm going Le Carre and giving you the tie break.
well, I'm going to go John Grisham, the firm. So I got a terrible keyboard here. Okay, so we'll go on to our next matchup. Sorry, Aaron, you had
That's right.
you were wrong.
Tinker,
You were wrong.
Tailor, Soldier,
You
goodbye.
were wrong.
All right. So Agatha Christie, we talked about this one too, and then there were none versus Patricia Cornwell, Scarpetta. Have you seen Scarpetta?
I'm only
Okay.
going Agatha Christie. I never heard of the other.
Okay. So I'm gonna go Agatha Christie, and I'm gonna tell you exactly why. Because
It's hard to go wrong going Agatha Christie, first of all.
true, 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 true. And I think Patricia Cornwell is brilliant, but her books, I don't think I haven't seen her any adaptations because her books have like scared the crap out of me. Like her books are, I
Yeah.
find them very frightening, and the serial killer stuff, and like they creep me out. And so I think she's a super talent. But if I had a choice of like to not watch a movie, which I knew was going to have stuff that's going to creep me out, I'm going Agatha Christie.
All right,
Yeah.
that's a good
I'm
reason.
that way with books even now too. If it's something that affects the way I sleep, I'm done with it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I heard an interview of her with on the Larry King show doing my newspapers at like 3 in the morning one time, and then I thought she was really interesting, but it's kind of creepy listening at 3 in the morning, I guess. Too.
It would have been in the 80s too, right?
She's
Yeah.
super talent. She's super talented, and I had again somebody recommended her books to me, and I read a couple of them, but I was like Aaron was getting at. I was having like nightmares, and I
But
was
isn't
at
that
the
like
time.
isn't that the
There's no
greatest
reason to
testament?
self-inflict that on your.
But not everybody would have that reaction. But that must be a very
Right.
powerful pen she wields there to be able
At the
to
time,
evoke that
yeah.
kind of response. You know.
But at the time, I was living in I was single, I was living in an apartment, and it was this little building, and it had kind of front door that was led to the open to the hallway for the building, but I had a back door through my little kitchen that was right out to the street, and I was like constant, and I had like a shitty little lock on it. Pardon my language. And I was always reading her books about these serial killers, and I was like, man, someone's gonna come in, break in, and you know, slice
All
and
right.
dice me. I was like
Kill you for your
freaking me out.
cereal. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I could, yeah, both kinds
It's,
of
You got some
cereal in my
Lucky
kitchen.
Charms you want to protect.
I bet Aaron made the same face as when he heard Led Zeppelin play backwards that one time. Probably made the same face.
That scared the shit out
Patricia
of me.
did.
Yeah. Or were we like 14,
Yeah,
13?
Stairway to Heaven. Play that backwards, and
Yeah, the my sweet thing.
All right. Here we go. Arthur Conan Doyle, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes versus Daphne. This is really old school. I don't know. Daphne du Maurier, Rebecca.
Holmes.
Yeah,
Holmes.
I'm gonna go Holmes.
Yeah, me too.
Conan Doyle.
Okay, and then our final matchup of the first round is the Shell Hammett, the Maltese Falcon, versus
Dashiell?
Harper Lee, To Kill a Mockingbird. Dash is it
Oh,
Dashiell?
Dashiell.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll take the Maltese Falcon from the movie because I don't think I've read the book, but I love the movie.
I
Yeah.
did read both books, and it's a tough choice. I'll go Maltese Falcon.
Okay, and I'll make it a sweep. So, um, okay, here we go to the final four. First matchup, John Grisham, The Firm versus Agatha Christie, and then there were none. That's pretty tough too.
We saw Jimmy Page in The Firm on senior skip day in 1986 in Dayton
Yeah, we did. We sure as hell did.
after a day
What
of
was it? What was it?
frisbee.
That was like the one. There was like one song, right? There was like they had
They
one
had a couple. They had Radioactive was the big one.
radioactive. That's right.
Yeah,
That's
I
right. That
can't
was the big.
remember what
That
the
was
other
the
one
big
might
one.
have been.
That was the big one.
It'll come to me.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna Grisham just because of the movie. Like I think the category seems like the I'm going back to the the original intent of the committee, which is what you guys look like we were talking about here, is was the movie adaptation of the book, and I still the Firm is a flawed movie, but I still think it's a good movie.
Okay, Aaron.
It was The Firm versus what was the other one now? I confused myself.
And then there were none. Agatha Christie.
Agatha Christie. Um, I go Agatha Christie just to prevent the sweep.
I saw an interpretation of then in there, and then there were none. It was a TV
Uh,
series. It was actually a limited series from like the mid 2000s. And I'm gonna shock the world here because I'm gonna go with Agatha Christie because of
oh,
that. I
that is
really
a
like that.
shocker.
Yeah,
Oh, so she's now in the finals.
yeah. And
I
final
don't
and
think I read not that was unfair of me because I did read The Firm and I enjoyed it, and I don't think I read the Agatha Christie, and then there were none. That's not among the Agathas I've read.
yeah. Well, I'll reserve the like if
Oh.
there's a tie this time, I won't. I'll let you guys. I'll go earlier, so I'm not the tiebreaker. Okay.
No,
Um,
it's I like putting you on the spot.
okay. I'm down. I'm down with it. So Arthur
I'll
Conan
just blurt
Doyle.
something out to make the tie be over. It's more fun to do it to you.
Arthur Conan Doyle, Sherlock Holmes versus the Shell Hammett Maltese Falcon.
Mm,
D-
Is it me first?
yeah,
It's a good one.
yeah,
I'm gonna go with Sherlock Holmes.
and I'm going to go Holmes also. Aaron, I jumped the shark on you there. I
that's
jumped.
right. I think as good of a noir as Maltese Falcon is, I think it's we got a sweep here.
Okay. Okay. So now
Holmes.
we got our championship. And that is going to be Agatha Christie, and then there were none versus Arthur Conan Doyle, Sherlock Holmes.
I already said I didn't read the Christie, and I've read many Holmes, so I'm going Holmes.
All right.
I think that as a aspiring mystery writer, I gotta go with
It's a good final for a mystery writer.
I gotta go. Yeah, but I gotta go with the all time leading sales leader, copy seller of all time, which is Agatha Christie.
Yeah.
So, man, I would have loved. Okay, we talk about figures, historical figures you'd like to meet and have a conversation with. I bet she was extremely interesting. I bet
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
woman was
Oh,
probably.
without a doubt.
I would love. Are
Wonder
there
how many murders
archives?
she got away with. Yeah.
Right, right. It's like what happened to her second husband or whatever.
She's Jessica Fletcher. Yeah.
Yeah, right, right.
Murder
But
She Wrote.
my God, but Sherlock Holmes is such an iconic literary
Yeah.
figure. So I'm gonna go with Holmes. So Holmes is our champion.
I thought you'd already
Oh,
voted for some reason.
here we
Yep.
go.
All
Yeah.
right.
Sorry,
There it is.
Agatha. That's
There it
a tough
is.
one.
Right.
I read a lot of Agathas and I read a lot of Holmeses, but I didn't read, and then there were none.
Well, now somebody will say, well, Sherlock Holmes is not even, thriller or something like that. So it shouldn't have counted. But that's what's good. It generates discussion amongst
It's
the
actually
audience.
Frankenstein's monster. Yeah.
Right. All right. Well, we did it. We got through an episode
Yeah.
without our
Get well
entertainment.
soon, Lisa.
Lisa is usually the life of the party. So we got through this. I don't know how we did it. But we
Sorry,
did.
I missed her.
Yeah. Well, I'll let her know. Maybe next time. Maybe.
Tell everybody where to find you and your book.
Yeah.
Sure. So my book is called The Bystander. It's available primarily online where books are sold. You can order it through your local bookstore if you want. You can also get it on bookshop.org, which benefits local bookstores. And there's more information about me and my books and that sort of stuff. My website is byjohndavid.com.
All right.
byjohndavid.com.
All right. Well, until next time.
Thanks for coming on. Nice to meet
Thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. Have a good evening, John.
All right. Take it easy, guys.
Yep.
Cheers.
Now on the Mastiff Radio Network.